Howdy, ho ho, my good humans. This is Unnecessary Rambling. I'm Brandon Sylvia. Appreciate you tuning in. I'm joined by the homie, Mr. Looney, in the building. How you doing, dude?
Yeah, not too bad. Now the dust has settled. I guess we can come back with a little bit more clearer thoughts,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Calm down, woosah, woosah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really what this show is going to be about today. We're going to be Phil Spencer announced that they're going to be having a business update event in the coming, well, it's going to be next week, correct?
Yeah, he said the week past this, yeah. I doubt it'll
Okay.
be this week.
Okay, so next week, Phil Spencer will be addressing, or someone from the Xbox team will be addressing what's going on. Are they remaining third party, or are they remaining, first party, keeping their exclusives in house? Are they going fully third party? It's going to be a lot of revelatory information that I suspect we'll be getting that is could shake up the landscape of video games for the rest of forever. So it's a big time, no doubt about it. But go check out our podcast, Rambling Achieved, over on Mr. Looney's channel. I'll have that in the description linked. Everything will be easily accessible for you to go find it. We talk about an hour, just kind of giving. That was where we had our that was immediate sort of thoughts whenever it first broke that like Starfield
Yeah.
was going to PS5, and before any of the dust settled, we just kind of got out there and let our thoughts fly freely. We did that for about an hour, so I'll link to that. But now, as things have calmed down a little bit, as you alluded to, Looney, I want to sort of make some lock it in predictions about what Phil will say at this event, this upcoming event. I have 7 questions wrote down. We're going to predict what exactly Phil will say at this event, or Sarah Bond, or Satya Nadella, or whoever the hell does the talking. We're going to predict what is actually said here. And Looney has no idea what questions I have wrote down here. So it's going to be fun, impromptu, on the fly sort of Q&A here. You ready to go, man?
Yeah, rattle them off. Let's
All
go.
right. So, first up, we have, are all games, first party Xbox games, going to be multi-platform? When the meeting is finished, how clear will this vision be? Will we have a real understanding of what's going to stay exclusive, what's going to go third party? Will it still be some sort of case by case basis? The term that I hate so much.
I
What
was
what
gonna use that. You ripped that out from underneath me. Um, I think it is gonna be the phrase that you hate most. I think it is gonna be a case by case thing. Um, I don't see them openly saying on the dot of that date saying that everything will be accessible. That'd be crazy to have that much of a shift all at once, in my
yeah.
personal opinion. Because I think it will be the thing where, because they've leaked the Indiana Jones thing of where it will go a few months later.
Yep.
I think that's probably how they're just going to be handling it moving forward.
Okay. So i- let's so you're saying case by case basis. I want to go to the
Mm.
second part of that question. How clear where will their vision be for exclusive first party, third party, first party games that are available elsewhere that were created in-house internally? How clear will that vision be?
Uh, um, I mean, with it being so, it's being dragged straight into the spotlight. They would have to be giving straight answers. I don't think they can really dodge around it. I think they need to just come out and say, look, it's either going to be we're going to be releasing these on PlayStation. It just depends when. And I think that's probably going to be the more likely thing
Do
is that
you
you
th-
will see Xbox titles on other platforms, and that's a guarantee.
do you think that will be announced, that it'll be, do you think it'll be officially announced like, okay, these companies, Bethesda, they have a different window of exclusivity than our first party, like Obsidian, Ninja Theory,
Mm.
343. You think there's going to be kind of different setups for each of the in-house publishers?
Yeah, that would be a really intelligent way of handling it, I believe. Because you think like Activision and stuff, they especially like a Call of Duty, you don't really want to be staggering a release, especially because they're usually yearly games. So you'd want them moving, even though they have said that they're going to come to PlayStation. They could have done a curveball and say, yeah, it comes to PlayStation a month later or something. But you'd want them to release same date release,
Yeah.
and stuff like even Bethesda games. If you're going to put them on there, you'd want them straight away, I would assume. They make such big splashes.
Okay, so you're saying Bethesda games and Activision or ABK all day one releases for PlayStation or whichever consoles can run. I'm
Yeah,
assuming the Switch 2 probably couldn't run any of those games. Um, but so you're saying day one releases for Bethesda, ABK for
mm,
consoles that can run at PC, PlayStation.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. So how does Indiana Jones tie into that with their little window of exclusivity for Indiana Jones? You think that'll be the last game for under the Bethesda umbrella? So you think like Doom and even Blade? I think Blade is a really good example actually of a because remember when Blade got announced, that was weird, man, to not have any of the logos of Game Pass Day One or exclusive to Xbox. Like there was no indicator that that was going to be an exclusive Xbox title. So do you think
Yeah.
that after Indiana Jones, you'll start to see the cadence of day one releases roll out on PlayStation more for games like Blade, Doom, Elder Scrolls 6?
It wouldn't actually surprise me now if we see them rethinking their strategy with Indiana Jones. Because of having this rug ripped out from underneath them, they may just concede it and say that they may end up releasing it on the same day. But you get
Okay.
it day one Game Pass for your subscription, or you can just pay full price on PlayStation. They might just go down that route.
Yeah. Unfortunately, for this question, I have the same answer. I think it's going to be a case by case basis. I think they'll probably say that term exactly, and I hate it so much to my core. And for the second part of the question that I had was how clear will their vision be? How clear will Phil Spencer or whoever is trying to get this message across, how clear will the message be? I'm going to say not clear. I don't think, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to have clear messaging. They've consistently had pretty vague messaging in the past. I do think we'll have a better understanding than we do now, obviously, because it's all speculation, rumor, innuendo. I think there will be something locked in stone, probably. I think they'll probably announce Hi-Fi Rush is going to come to PS5 and Switch. I think they'll probably
Yeah,
announce Starfield. And I think that I could I see Activision that it's announced that all ABK titles are going to be, day and date released on competitor platforms. But I don't think they're going to lock in stone, concrete lock it in for these other games because I think they're going to do a trial method where they roll out these things, see how it performs, and then sort of update their plan of attack moving forward based on the success or failure of releasing these games on competitor platforms.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
So I'm saying case by case basis, and in terms of how clear their vision will be laid out in front of us, I'm going to say not clear at all, unfortunately. All right. The second question I have down here is does he announce that some first party games are not going to be coming to Game Pass? Does he announce that some Xbox owned studios will not be putting their games day and date on Game Pass? And the only reason I ask this is because this sort of I don't know what a leak is versus a rumor, but there is rumors, we'll just say, of this possibly taking place. Do you believe any of these rumors? Do you believe any of this will be confirmed, announced at this business event?
I think that would shock me the most because of how much he has pushed to the forefront, how important Game Pass is, and seriously pushing that everything is day one release, day one release, day one. That's like always been their slogan that they've put, slathered it everywhere. So if they did a 180 on that, that would be crazy because that's also the hook of Game Pass. You have Sony's competitor, the what was it called? PS Plus? No,
Yeah,
or
you're
whatever it
right.
is. Yeah, PS Plus. Um, and they don't really put their stuff in day one. They wait a very long time to add their stuff, or they don't add it at all because they know that they make up for the sales. So that's their whole hook. So if they lose that, that would lose a lot of faith in them because then you would start wondering down the line all of these big titles like, okay, if they're going to pull this title out, then why would they bother putting the Elder Scrolls 6 Day 1 Game Pass? Because they know that it would sell tons and tons of copies, and that would kind of, yeah, betray the faith, I would feel. So I don't think that they would do that.
All right, I'm gonna lock you in for I don't think so.
Yeah.
So you don't think that there'll be no announcement that Call of Duty, let's say, will not be because that's what I think. To go ahead and get mine out there, I don't think COD will release into Game Pass, but I don't think they'll announce it here. I think that'll just be such a black eye that they'll roll that information out later on. But I don't think Call of Duty's gonna go to Game Pass. That's gonna be my one kind
You
of
don't you
bold
don't think
prediction.
so?
Don't think so. I think other I think Activision Blizzard games have a higher likelihood. I just think Call of Duty sells ridiculous on Xbox and PC. And then
Yeah,
to have the
yeah,
option to go and just pay $15 because that's a game that people that is like a game that a lot of people base their life around. That's their one
mm,
game. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't think Call of Duty goes to
you don't
Game
think
Pass.
that it would translate into making people swallow microtransactions a little bit easier if they know that they're picking it up on like Xbox, part of their
Yep.
subscription, they would be like, oh well, I didn't have to pay for the game, so this $20 bundle is I guess me paying for the game and stuff like that, and make it easier to swallow them
But
big bundles that they sell in the store.
but the thing is they already do that. They already pay for all the microtransactions
Yeah,
and they pay for the $70 game every single year like clockwork. I mean, I don't know that. So I'm gonna lock that in. I'm gonna say Call of Duty will not release inside of Game Pass. It may down the line. I could see it 6 month, a year, not a year, but 6 month gap, 3 month gap, whatever it may be. But I don't think that Call of Duty games will release day and date into Game Pass. That's gonna be my one bold prediction for the video. But I don't think they'll announce it at this event.
yeah, I could see that rationale. Yeah,
Okay, so we're moving on to number three, and this is uh, you're kind of picking a lane here. We're gonna be picking a lane.
okay.
Xbox and this will be at this event. Xbox is or isn't still committed to the console market going forward. Is anything laid out to where we feel, commitment from the brand, from Phil Spencer or whoever, that Xbox as a box, as a console, are they committed to this console market moving forward? Do we feel that after the event?
Obviously, there's so many red flags over these past like few years that have them flirting that they don't really care. Um, but as I said, because when we reacted to it, we obviously were saying that it's a high likelihood that they might exit. Um, but the more you think about it, you think as because we before we started talking about me talking about the Ford thing of like them being like the eighth place car manufacturer and stuff like that. You don't always need to be first to be an incredibly profitable company, and they still they're still doing well, all things considered, considering they're third place in a very competitive market. Um, I think it would be very stupid to fully back out of the console industry, and it would be even more stupid to do it at this conference if they just outright were like, "Yeah, we're going to be tapping out next generation. You get this last box, and then yeah, would just be a subscription." I think that would cause chaos big time.
We're in the exact same camp. I think definitively, like I think a definitive uh speech, passionate sort of announcement will be made here. Like I think when we leave this, there will be no question in our mind. Now, if we believe it or not, that's a different takeaway. But in terms of what is relayed, the message that they're trying to get across, I think definitively they're going to try to hammer home. We are not leaving the console market space now or anytime in the future. I think they're going to try to hammer that home. Once again, if people believe it, who knows? But I think they're going to try to get that message across. So I think we're both in the same camp there, somewhat in the same camp there.
Yep.
Okay. So both saying they're committed to the console market, and that is illustrated, that is reiterated at this event. My fourth question: does Phil or whoever admit that Game Pass either hasn't been successful or isn't sustainable in its current form at this event?
No, no way.
I don't think so either. I
I,
don't
I
think
thought that there was reports of showing like they were making incredible amounts of revenue.
I don't think so. I think that the reports that came out were mostly a lot of speculation from fans, and then we had the actual information of or information where I think it was Phil Spencer that said that they're profitable, but no, we have no like real
Oh,
concrete
okay.
numbers. So it's like that's the thing that's so annoying to me about Xbox in a lot of ways is they don't release numbers, which PlayStation doesn't release numbers about PlayStation Plus, and I think I know why. Um,
Mm,
I, I'm not saying I totally don't believe in the idea of these subscription services. I just think it's like all subscription services where you take a loss at first to hopefully get your threshold of whatever subscriber number that you want, and then from that point on, you're just kind of leading into evergreen profit from, they're honest. People forget about them or they're just locked in or whatever the case may be. Um, so you're saying that Phil does not admit or whoever does not admit that Game Pass isn't sustainable or hasn't been successful in its current form.
no, there's no way because that's literally the whole game plan as well. If they went and admitted that like as a loss, like what they don't have anything else going for them at this current stage. That's the whole hook as well. Like I said, it's the hook to get the console.
I think
You
at
get
this,
these,
go ahead.
sorry, you get these day one releases and you get these stacks of games and it's a fairly cheap thing. Like, you pay whatever it is, $500 for the thing, and then you're paying 15 each month and you're immediately given hundreds and hundreds of titles and they get updated on a monthly basis. If they were
Yeah.
to turn around and say, yeah, we're really not doing too hot, that really wouldn't inspire any confidence. Like they with this interview thing that they come out and do, they need to seriously boost confidence in themselves and their public image.
Yeah. I I agree they need to do that. I think the nature of this event announcement in general is going to leave people, just at best mixed on the state of Xbox after the event, regardless of what's said here. Even if they came out and said, it was all a ruse. We got you. Everything's gonna be the same. People are gonna be like, what the hell? Like, I don't think there's any way they leave this event with people, hell yeah, we feel restored. Our faith is restored. Like, I don't feel that that will be the case at all. But to tie back to the question there, does Phil admit that Game Pass hasn't been successful or sustainable in its current form? I have a weird kind of vague answer here, which I know I've ridiculed Xbox for their vague answers, and now I'm going to be vague. I think they're going to kind of admit that. I think they're going to say something to the effect of for Game Pass to continue being sustainable or for us to continue our efforts moving forward with Game Pass, getting you more day one titles, getting you more. I think they're going to have some messaging where you can kind of pick out something there and go, huh, that's weird. That's a weird way of phrasing it. I think it's going to be something to the effect of we're going to put our games on PlayStation to ensure that Game Pass continues to be this must-have service that you can only access on Xbox or PC or whatever the case may be. I think they're going to try to do this like boosting of Game Pass
Mm.
while also simultaneously letting you know that this model isn't going to work without us getting cash elsewhere.
Yeah, when you phrase it in that manner, that does make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, my fifth question here. And I guess actually we'll go ahead and we'll can this question because it was just how specific does Phil get about releases? Any confirmation about Blade, Indiana Jones? We already talked about that. So we'll X out that question there. And we'll move on to this is one I'm really interested about. If they're doing this like business update event, just talking the business of Xbox, and there's all these hardware rumors right now. One, do any of the hardware rumors get addressed? And two, is there any mention of a future handheld device?
Oh, good question.
Because that's the big rumor that there's going to be some Xbox handheld device, which to me, that's a dope idea in terms of if you can have a native device to play a lot of these Game Pass games, and then some that you know obviously the device couldn't handle, you could play through streaming or whatever the case may be. Like I don't know how they'll have it set up, but the idea of
Yeah.
a dedicated Game Pass handheld, that is pretty appealing to me.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
And
I
before you
don't.
go,
Oh, cool.
I think that I once again talking about how negative everything is here, and it's negative by nature, this event. This could be like that one thing where it's like a little glimmer of hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It could be. It would be. Where would you fit it in? Would that be like a closing
Yes.
as to like sweeten the deal? Um, and
Eh,
also, how long is it going to be of a of an announcement and like addressing stuff?
I mean, if everything is talked about that we're talking about here, it's going to be 3 hours long.
Yeah, they can have a spot on the podcast.
Come on,
Um,
Phil.
oh, yeah, maybe to sweeten it up a little bit if it's fairly negative, the stuff that they're covering. If they do good enough damage control, they might not feel the need to put it in there. Maybe that would be something further down the line for a different event. But it's how much of that stuff, rings negative. So I'm really split because that wasn't even a thing that I considered. I'll take a shot in the dark. I'll say sure, yeah, to
Yeah.
spice it up.
I'm going yeah too. And I'm going to say yes in terms of tying back to what we talked about earlier. Is Xbox still committed to the console market? I think they straight up announce it here. I don't obviously it's not going to be a reveal event for the console, but I think they're going to say
Shadow drop like
right.
Hi-Fi Rush.
And I don't even necessarily think they'll throw a year out or anything, but I think they'll say where we are developing our next, SKU of Xbox consoles. I th The handheld, I don't know. I don't know. I think that might be saved for a reveal, another reveal, but I think they will say this isn't our last console. The Series X is not our last console. We have another one on the way. So I don't think I'll go ahead and lock that in. I don't think they can I don't think they say anything about handheld, but I do think they announce that they have a new console on the way there will be another console after the Series X.
Okay, yeah.
So now we move on into the final prediction. After this meeting podcast, however they end up rolling it out, just a video, a blog, whatever it ends up being, Xbox fans will feel more or less deflated than before.
Oh God. Um, I don't think it's going to be any. It's like you said. I think the best case scenario is it's just going to be mixed. Because even with the announcements of when that news first dropped, it was 100% just split down the middle. There were some people who are even Xbox fans that are like, okay, I'm jumping ship immediately. Like they have that little faith in the brand. That was just the tipping point where they're like, if this turns out to be true, I'm gone. And you have the other people that are like, no, they wouldn't do that. So, uh, I don't think it would win them over, if I'm being honest. They would have to do so much for it to be really well received, to
I,
be honest.
yeah, I actually think that we will leave, or Xbox fans. I really don't consider myself, I don't know where I really, I don't, almost all of my interaction with these companies is like negative. So I don't know if I consider myself a fan of any of them. I'm constantly bitching about Sony's output of first party content, constantly bitching about Xbox's business strategy. I think I just complain a lot. But I think actually we do feel I think we feel less deflated by the end of this show. I think that there's been so much just vomit, like toxic vomit on the internet, where I actually genuinely do think that by the end of this event, people are like, okay, that it's not everything. It's not total doom and gloom. We are going to get a new Xbox console. They are still committed to Game Pass. Like, I don't think anything in this event they'll be like, we're doing away with Game Pass. We're doing away with consoles. Your digital ecosystem, your digital library, it's dead. Like, I think they confirm your digital library will be preserved in some capacity. If it's upheld or not, like, I don't know. But I think they're going to do everything in their power to ensure you that the Xbox brand is not dead. It's not going anywhere, but there's changes to the business model to sustain their growth, to be more profitable. I do think they want to become the most profitable, the most successful publisher in the game space. And in order to do so,
Yep.
you're going to send it to the places that have the most active users. And that's just the reality. And I think that's going to be the message. Um, so I think people are going to be less deflated because there's going to be more clarity. And I think just in general, that I don't think people are, let me be clear. Once again, I don't think people are going to be raising their fists. Hell yeah, hoorah. There's going to be none of that. It's still going to be a negative overall assessment of the brand. But right now it feels like impending doom. And I don't think that we leave the conference feeling impending doom.
No, I would hope not, especially with how long it's taking them to do a response.
Totally.
Um, they're clearly picking the perfect phrases and roadmap that they lay out and stuff like that. It also kind of feels similar to because this was also rumored like they're getting out the console market space when they started saying they were porting their games to PC and people called them mad and stupid
Yeah.
back then. And it was just them, they were like, well, why are we just keeping it on one platform when we can just pinch the sales and put them on these platforms? So it just feels like maybe it's just an extension of that. Like, how far can they push this?
Yeah.
Um, they seem to be fairly comfortable with Nintendo. I think they really want to get stuff put onto Nintendo devices, like
That's
big
actually
time. Like the amount of times they mentioned about getting Call of Duty onto a Switch was crazy
that's actually a
when they were doing the
really
acquisition.
it's a really good tie. Nintendo versus PlayStation. Is there anything in this conference Is there anything they line out of a differentiating factor between where they're going to put their games? Like, do we have any sort of, because that's the thing that I think most people, if we're just being totally honest from a console fanboying perspective, I don't think most people care about Nintendo. People don't want PlayStation to get any access to that shit. And it's like that's where the war all kind of began in 2001. Like it was between those two. So from that standpoint, eh, and I have more thoughts on that we'll get into in a bit. But Nintendo versus PlayStation, is anything outlined in stone that there's going to be a difference between where these games go?
Yeah,
Oh,
I do
but
think so.
you do think so? Can I
Yep,
ask you this? Hi-Fi Rush, will it only be Nintendo, or will it be Nintendo and PlayStation?
it'll be both, probably.
Okay.
Might have it would make, do you know what? It might make sense for them to maybe start bidding wars, if that makes any sense. Like say that, Nintendo, if you want this on your platform for like a short period of time, pay up a little bit of money and they can start ransoming off these IPs because if they have full control over them, that might be a way for them to pinch a little bit more money and then pull that into the Game Pass
Rare,
coffers.
yeah, rare games going back to Nintendo, some weird
Mm.
sort of spin-offs and stuff like that. What if Rare kind of gets to making like Nintendo exclusive and Xbox exclusive content and not place, like there's so many weird things that could go on there. There's so many weird ways that the console warring can continue even if Xbox is like third party per se, just because they've become such a publisher powerhouse. Um
Mm.
but I don't think anything will be cleared up there in this conference. I don't think that if anything, I think they'll constantly reiterate over and over they want their games where the most players are. They want to put their games everywhere. More player, what's the fucking quote? Where more people play, we all win. What all the kumbaya? I think they're gonna lean into the kumbaya 1,000%.
Yeah, because it just paints them as the good guy.
And
Absolutely.
we talked about this on our show. Uh, I think they kind of are the good guy in this scenario. Like you can't look at exclusive content and go, that's a wonderful thing for consumers. Like it's just not. But there is something that bothers me about journalists right now that I will say is this idea that they just can't understand why Xbox fans would be disappointed. You didn't buy your console. You had it given to you. What in the hell? Like your opinion holds zero weight in
Yeah.
this situation. Like real people paid real money, $500. I bought my damn Xbox on a credit card that I had to pay off months and months and months. Like dude, it is it's so different. It's such a different ball game. The fact that like people can't rationalize in their head that they're in a different, more privileged spot than, because I just see these blanket statements like, well, exclusives are bad, or I don't understand the fans' reaction. I don't understand the visceral, guttural, just like, death threats or crazy stuff like that's
Yeah,
like that's
that's over the
insane.
top. Yeah,
But to
absolutely.
be disappointed, to not have as much faith in the ecosystem, to think that, oh damn, I wasted $500. Like $500 to you and I, that's a lot different than 500 $500 to somebody that's making 400 $500,000 a year. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
500 bucks, that's real money. And the fact that a lot of these journalists, pundits, whatever, can't seem to grasp that is asinine to me.
Yeah, it's not even a point of view that I was thinking of either. Yeah. They also just love pitting. They love stoking the fire as well with the pitting the fanboys against each other,
Yeah.
really poking the holes, and it's just that irritates me.
Yeah, drums up more traffic. I get it from a business angle. I don't mean to like, it's not all journalists. It's not anything like that. I have so many journalists totally understand like the common person perspective, but it's like, I don't know. If you invested $500 in a box because Ninja Theory, Obsidian, Bethesda, all these companies, in exile were acquired, and then you hear 2 years later that these games are going to be going everywhere. Of course, people are going to be bummed that they spent $500 and that was the end result. Like, I don't understand how. Anyways, that I could ramble on and on about that. That has really annoyed me in this conversation or in the toxic discourse that I've seen online. But Looney, I appreciate you for joining me here today. I appreciate you weighing in on these topics, these predictions, and we only got a 7-ish, 8-ish days to wait, something like that, I would assume, before we hear about
Yep.
this.
Yeah, really dragging the feet there, and just yeah, I'd love to it for it just to be over. I just want it
Yeah,
to be over.
definitely. I
So
will
hurry up with this week.
subscribe to Looney's channel. We will be addressing the event when it happens. We will be responding to it there. So head on over there. Looney, I appreciate you for joining me, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Goodbye, my good people.